Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the place you come to really sift through the noise and get to the core insights from the information you share with us. Today, we're doing a deep dive into something that, well, often feels like just a box to tick in business, reference checks. But we're looking at their strategic power. And this matters whether you're, navigating your own career, maybe leading a team, or even building a whole company. It really does hit home because, let's be honest, right? We all want to put our best foot forward, especially when there's a job we really want. But here's something pretty startling from the sources we looked at. A huge 64.2% of employees, they admit they've stretched the truth or maybe outright lied about experience, skills, even references. Just let that sink in. More than 6 out of every 10 people bending the truth somehow.
It's a massive statistic, isn't it? And it immediately flags the big challenge companies are up against. When that many candidates might be, let's say, inflating their story, the usual hiring process, resumes, interviews, it suddenly looks pretty vulnerable. It stops being just about finding the best fit and starts becoming about managing some serious risk.
Yeah, and we're not just talking small fibs here. The money involved in hiring badly in, say, 2024, it's genuinely staggering. Our sources gave us some numbers. Like the average cost for one new hire is around $4,700.
Yeah.
But for an executive, that jumps to maybe $28,000
Yeah.
or even more. But here's the real kicker, the really alarming bit. Replacing someone who was a bad hire, we're talking anywhere from 50% to, get this, 400% of their yearly salary. So you hire someone for $60K a year, they don't work out. You could be out anywhere from $30,000 up to maybe $240,000.
Yeah.
That is just a colossal amount of money, especially for bigger companies hiring lots of people.
Exactly. And those figures, they really explain why smart CEOs, the forward-thinking ones, are looking at talent acquisition differently now. It's not just some admin task anymore. They get that a bad hire isn't just, a drag on productivity or bad for morale. It hits the bottom line hard. It messes with project timelines, client stuff, even the whole company culture. So finding real solutions, that's become strategic, absolutely critical.
Okay, so that sets up our mission for today then.
Yeah.
We want to pull back the curtain on why these seemingly, kind of boring reference checks are actually maybe a CEO's secret weapon. We're going to unpack how moving away from just ticking a box, moving towards asking really strategic behavior-focused questions, how that can save companies huge amounts of money, and how it can predict performance way better, and basically turn hiring into a real competitive edge, not just a chore.
And for you, our listener, this is key. Whether you're the one doing the hiring, or maybe you're on the job market yourself, or, maybe you're just curious about how top organizations handle risk and build strong teams. Understanding this shift, it's really vital for making smarter decisions, whatever your role is.
Right. So let's dig into that challenge a bit more. That 64.2% number, nearly 2/3 admitting to lying. It just sticks with me. It really speaks to this pressure candidates feel, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like they have to puff up their story to get noticed.
Oh, absolutely. And then you have what our sources call the interview paradox, the drill. Candidates are coached, or they just feel they have to say things like, oh, I'm a great team player, I'm very results driven, excellent communication skills. And these sound good, sure. But they're so overused, they've become, almost meaningless, haven't they? They tell you almost nothing concrete about how someone actually performs under pressure or handles conflict or really works with others. It's like reading from a script.
Totally. Everyone's a self-starter. Everyone's detail-oriented. Well, what does that actually mean when, things go wrong on a project or when they're juggling 5 things at once? It does feel like we're just going through the motions sometimes in interviews. And then you skim out, look at the big picture. The ripple effects are huge. The sources mention this absolutely staggering figure. U.S. businesses lose something like $1 trillion every year from employee turnover, not just bad hires, all turnover.
$1 trillion. Just pause on that number.
Yeah.
To give you some scale, that's like taking the entire GDP of a country like, say, the Netherlands and just tossing it out the window every single year. So this isn't just a few companies making a few mistakes. It points to a systemic problem across the board, a collective failure, really, in how we hire. We get good at finding people who look great on paper, who interview well, but then they turn out to be, the source had a great phrase for it, about as effective as a chocolate teapot.
A chocolate teapot. I love that. It's so vivid. It perfectly captures that feeling, right?
Yeah.
You hire someone, they look solid, and then they just melt under the first sign of pressure. Or they don't gel with the team, or they just can't deliver. And the idea that we're collectively flushing $1 trillion down the drain because of these chocolate teapots, it's mind-blowing. How did we even get here? How are we so bad collectively at something so fundamental? What's the root cause?
Well, I think it points to sticking with old habits, relying on these traditional, often pretty superficial hiring methods. For decades, it's been mostly about the resume and the interview. And look, those are necessary, but they're limited. They mostly tell you what someone claims they can do, or maybe what they did in a very specific past context. The whole chocolate teapot thing happens because we're often not really assessing how someone will actually behave and perform in this specific job with this team under these pressures. We're asking the wrong questions, maybe, or not asking enough questions of the right people.
Okay, so if that's the problem, the scale of it, where's the fix? And this is where you talk about a revolution in reference checks. Sounds kind of dramatic, maybe a bit much. Is it really a revolution?
I think it is, yeah, because it pushes past what's often just been an illusion of due diligence. Like the data shows, sure, 92% of employers do background checks. That's good. But then when it comes to the reference check part, so many treat it like, I don't know, asking their aunt if they're a good person. That's how one source put it. It's often just ticking a box, a quick surface level thing, not a real strategic dive. And that's the gap. Companies do this because, well, time pressure, lack of training maybe, or just thinking a quick call is enough.
Right. And what really jumped out from the research we reviewed is that good reference checks, they actually are proven to be valuable for predicting job performance. The sources suggest they can sometimes be more insightful than just looking at someone's education or even their past job titles alone. That kind of goes against the grain, doesn't it? Why would that be?
It does challenge that conventional thinking, yeah. The real power, the secret sauce, as the source calls it, it comes when you combine those reference checks with really structured, behavior-focused questions. That's how you turn a casual chat into something much more powerful, almost like a crystal ball into future behavior. You stop asking things like, so what are their strengths and weaknesses? Which, let's face it, is so vague. Instead, you're hunting for concrete evidence, examples of past actions, because that's the best predictor we have for future performance.
Okay, now it's getting really interesting. So tell me about these secret sauce questions. What do they actually sound like? If they're giving you a crystal ball, I want to know how it works.
Okay, so they're designed to really dig into the how someone actually operates day to day. So instead of asking, is she good under pressure, which gets you yes or no, you might ask something like, could you walk me through a specific time when candidate name faced a really tough deadline or a super stressful situation? What happened? What exactly did they do? And what was the result? C, it forces the reference away from just generic praise and makes them give you a real story, a behavioral example.
Right, not an opinion, but a story. Got it. Like evidence.
Exactly. Or here's another one. Walk me through how candidate name usually tackles a big kind of ambiguous challenge, a project where the path forward isn't obvious. This gets at their problem-solving approach, their initiative, how they handle uncertainty. Do they bring structure? Or do they flounder? It reveals the strategic thinking or maybe the lack of it.
And what about the third one the sources mentioned, the one about environment? What kind of environment really makes candidate name shine? And conversely, what kind of setting might cause them to unravel a bit? That sounds really insightful.
It's incredibly valuable because it gets at self-awareness, but also practical fit. It's not about finding flaws, remember. It's about understanding where they thrive. So a reference might say, oh, they're amazing in super collaborative, fast-paced teams, but they kind of struggle if they're working alone all day. Or maybe they do best with clear goals and lots of autonomy, but they really don't respond well to constant micromanagement. This gives you such crucial intel, not just about performance, but preferences, stress triggers, even team dynamics, all based on actual past behavior.
Wow, okay. Those are specific. They really do shift from vague claims to concrete examples. Past behavior predicts future performance, like you said. You're trying to get the how and the why, not just the what. And I can really see how this kind of information, it isn't just about dodging a bad hire, is it? It's more proactive than that. It's about setting people up to succeed right from the start.
Precisely. The sources talk about it giving you cheat codes for the new hire before they even walk in the door on day one. Imagine knowing right away the leadership style that really motivates this specific person, or the kinds of projects that genuinely excite them, or even just how they prefer to communicate quick emails, scheduled check-ins. Slack. For instance, if a reference says they really thrive with regular structured check-ins, you can build that into their onboarding. Or if they say, give them the goal and get out of the way, well, you know how to empower them immediately. So you're not just hiring someone blankly. You're tailoring their entry into the company to maximize their potential from day one. It makes onboarding so much more effective.
That's a massive shift.
Yeah.
Not just filtering out problems, but actively optimizing for success. And then there's the whole insurance policy angle. The sources used that analogy for reference checks, too. That really resonated. Can you unpack that a bit?
Yeah, it's a strong analogy because it hits on risk mitigation.
Yeah.
Especially legal risk. There's this pretty infamous case involving Charter Spectrum. They got hit with a judgment for, wait for it, $1.147 billion with a B.
$1 billion.
$1 billion for negligent hiring. Because essentially, they missed some really obvious red flags in an employee's background check and reference process. And that employee later committed a very serious crime while on the job. The court basically said, you should have known your failure to do proper checks led to this harm.
$1.147 billion for negligent hiring. That's absolutely shocking. Suddenly spending, I don't know, a few extra hours, maybe even a day doing really thorough checks, it seems like the smartest, most essential investment you could possibly make. But just so we're clear, what does negligent hiring actually mean, legally speaking?
Good question. So negligent hiring is basically a legal claim saying an employer didn't use reasonable care when hiring someone. And because they didn't use that care, the employee they hired ended up causing harm or damage. It means the employer should have or could have reasonably found out that the candidate wasn't suitable, maybe even dangerous, but they failed to look properly. In that Charter Spectrum case, it meant ignoring warning signs that, well, tragically could have prevented what happened. So having a solid paper trail showing you did robust, structured reference checks, asking those behavioral questions that acts as vital protection, it proves you took reasonable steps. What's really interesting is that investing in these checks isn't just about better hires, it's literally about protecting the whole company from potentially catastrophic legal and financial blows.
So, okay, this isn't just good HR practice. It's not a nice to have. It really sounds like a strategic must-do for any serious business.
Yeah.
The sources are basically arguing talent acquisition needs to be seen as a core strategic function, right? Not just some administrative task pushed off to the side.
Absolutely. The companies that are really nailing talent acquisition today, they figured this out. They treat reference data like business gold. That's the term used. It's a valuable source of insight that actually drives strategy. So what does that mean? It means they're investing. They're training their teams properly to ask those deeper behavioral questions to get past the surface stuff. And they're often using, modern digital tools to make the process smoother, faster, more consistent, gather better data more efficiently. It's a whole mindset shift, moving from just checking a box reactively to proactively investing in your people intelligence as a way to gain a real competitive advantage and protect the bottom line.
Okay, so let's wrap this up. This deep dive, it's really shown that these structured reference checks, they're far from boring. They're actually a really powerful and, frankly, pretty cost-effective tool. They give you this surprisingly clear window, that crystal ball, maybe into how someone might actually perform. It's way more than just avoiding the chocolate teapot. It's about getting real, actionable insights that save money, cut down huge risks, and honestly, just change how you build winning teams.
Couldn't agree more. We live in this age of just information overload, constant data coming at us. The companies, and actually the individuals too, who are going to succeed, they're the ones who can intelligently sift through it all, who can use the available data to make genuinely informed decisions, especially about their most crucial asset, their people.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you to mull over. If these structured reference checks really are this powerful, this much like business gold, what does it mean for you or for your organization if you're not fully leveraging them? Are you potentially leaving part of that trillion-dollar problem on the table? Something to think about. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.